The next thing that I want to do is that I want to show you what to do with these particles, at least one idea. Let's go ahead to the project panel, and in the project panel you're going to see that I have a file called chimney.ai, and this you have included in your project files. I'm going to go ahead and create a new composition for this file. I'm just going to click here in the new composition icon, and I'll name it chimney. The settings of DV are fine, and I'll just click OK. Now I'm going to drag the chimney file to this composition. The next thing that I want to do, I want to make this chimney or smokestack look like it's breathing, so that as it exhales, it will exhale smoke. For that, I'm going to use an effect called Liquify. And there you go. Let's just go ahead and add it to the clip. And the settings for Liquify now appear in the Effect Controls panel. To accomplish what I want to accomplish with the smokestack, I need to use the bloat option of the Liquify effect. So I'm just going to go ahead and click here. The next thing that I want to do is I need to adjust the bloat tool options. So I will expand here. And the brush size, I need to adjust that. Let's see how big this one is. Not big enough, so I need to make this much larger. And that's a little bit better. Perhaps a little bit more. And there you go. The next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to keyframe the distortion mesh. So I'll make sure that my CTI is all the way at the beginning, and I'll keyframe the distortion mesh here. I'll move in time a little bit, and I'll bring the bloat tool on top of the chimney, and I'm just going to click on hold. And I'll release now. That's about enough. Now I'm going to go to the timeline. I'm going to select the clip, and I'm going to press the letter U. U, as you remember, is the shortcut that will let us see all of the keyframes that have been assigned to that layer. I'll move in time a little bit. I'm going to click on this first keyframe, and I'm going to copy it. Control or Command C, and I'll paste. Control or Command V. Let's see how this looks like. Let's play it. And that's not too bad. What I want to do is that now I want to play a little bit with the timing of these keyframes. So I'll select all of them, and I'll go to the graph editor. In the graph editor, I'll right-click the middle keyframe, and I'll choose Keyframe Interpolation. From the temporal interpolation, I'm going to change this to Continuous Bezier. And I'll click OK. What I want to do is for this to start slow, and then breathe fast, and then go back to slow. So I'm going to lower the first keyframe, and I'm going to lower the last keyframe, and then I'm just going to raise the middle keyframe all the way up. And there you go. Let's RAM preview this one. And that's a little bit better. Let's go ahead and leave this graph editor mode. The next thing that I want to do is that I want to have a solid that I'm going to use to place my particles, because remember, this needs to exhale smoke. The shortcut to create a solid is Control or Command Y. And there it is. I'm just going to call this smoke. And I'll click OK. I can place the smoke now underneath the chimney, and I'll apply the particle playground. Effect, Simulation, Particle Playground. I'm going to expand the cannon here. I'm going to raise the emitter a little bit. There you go. I'm also going to lower the gravity, maybe just a 0, so my particles keep on floating up. I'll play around with the direction random spread, maybe with the radius a tiny little bit. I'm going to change the color of the particles to white. And all I need to do now is I need to keyframe the birth rate. In other words, I need to keyframe the particles per second parameter. So let's see when the smoke is supposed to exit the chimney. And it exhales at around here. So at this point in time, we are going to have many particles per second, say about yay. And let's go ahead and keyframe that. And a little bit before that, we're going to have 0 particles per second. Yeah, let's just scrub that. And around here, at this point in time, we're going to stop the particles per second again. And let's preview that. And that's not too bad. The last thing that we need to do is that we need to add a fast blur to these particles so that it looks like smoke. Let's go ahead and type in the word fast and the letter B. There you go. And let's apply this to the particles and let's blur them a little bit. And let's preview this now. And that's not too bad, except I need a lot more particles. So I'm going to go to the particle generator here, and I'm going to increase the particle radius, maybe to a 3. And let's see what that does. And that's better. The next thing that I have to do is I need to pre-compose this. So I'm going to select both of these layers, and I'm going to use the shortcut, which is Shift-Command-C, or Shift-Control-C for Windows. I'm going to name this Chimney. Chimney Precomp 1. Make sure that the Move All Attributes into the new composition is selected and click OK. Let's go now to the Project panel. And you see the Chimney Precomp 1 right here. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. The shortcut for it is Control-Command-D. And let's do that twice so that we have 3 different chimneys. These are 3 different compositions, even though they're copies of the same one, but now they are 3 distinct separate compositions. I'm going to go ahead and place them all in the same composition. So Precomp 1 is already here. I'll drag Precomp 2 and now Precomp 3. We can now move them around, change them in scale. And I'll go ahead and select that one. P for position. I'm going to scrub the number a little bit. In fact, I'll select all of them. Let's play around with these values. I'll make this one much wider, and I'll just lower it now. There you go. Maybe put it behind a little bit, the other one. And that's good. If we preview this, we're going to see that they're all doing the same thing, which is not unusual because they're copies of the same composition. And there you go. I'm going to go ahead and collapse the transformations for all of these. Now what I need to do is I need to time them a little bit differently. So I'm going to Control or Command double click each one of these so that the original composition that these precomps came from opens in its own panel. I can now time these a little bit better. So I'll select the smoke and press the letter U. I can select all of these keyframes and let's make them start a little bit before. Maybe here and maybe a little bit faster. So I'm going to press and hold the Option key and drag the last one. There you go. And this is going to go a little bit faster. Now I'm going to repeat these. So I'm going to copy these, Control-Command-C, and paste, Control-Command-V. And again, and again, and I'm going to do the same with the smoke ones. Control-Command-C to copy, and Control-Command-V to paste. And there you go. Now I'm going to go to the original composition again, And I'm going to Control or Command double click the second one, which is Chimney Precomp 2. Same thing, I'm going to select the smoke layer and press the letter U. And this time I'm going to move all of these to the right. I'll adjust this middle keyframe a little bit. I can make these last a little bit longer instead of shorter. So I'll press and hold the Option key. And I'll just drag the last one. There you go. And I'm also going to make this do it again. So I'll copy these, Control Command C and Control Command V. And the same with the smoke ones. Copy and paste. And that should be good. Let's go back to the other one. And I think we can leave the Chimney Precomp 1 the same because that's the first one, so we don't need to adjust that. Now, all three of our chimneys are doing different things. If I want to adjust the actual liquify, like this one is getting a little bit too expanded, so it's breathing a little too much. Let's go ahead and select that precomp, and that's precomp 2, and let's go to the distortion mesh. And maybe we can adjust that a little bit. Let's go to the Effect Controls panel. And maybe I can go in here and instead of bloating it, I can pucker it a tad. And I'll do the same on this one here. And let's see what that does. And there you go. Let me go back to the chimney comp. And I think it's much better. Now all I have left to do is I need to add some kind of a background to this. So I'm going to add a solid. The shortcut for adding a solid is Control or Command Y. And blue is fine. I'm just going to call it the background. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And I'm going to name it the ground. I'm going to add a ramp effect to both of these. And I'm going to add the ramp to the ground. And I'm going to make this going from brown to green. So brown somewhere around here. And green somewhere around here. And I'm going to change the colors so that they go pretty much there is good. And I'm going to put this one all the way at the bottom. The background is sort of like the sky, so it's going to eventually go all the way to the bottom of all of the layers. And I'm going to change the ramp here to go from dark blue to light blue. So dark blue here. And maybe a little light blue here. And it's going to be the sky, so I'm going to raise this a little bit like yay. And there you go. Now I'm going to put this all the way at the bottom. I'll select the ground layer and then I am going to mask it a little bit. So I'll grab my pen tool, maybe have a little mountain there. And there you go, something like that, just to give this a little bit of perspective. And now all I have left to do is maybe add some drop shadow to these layers. So let me just type the word drop shadow. And there it is. I'm going to add it to all three of them. So I'll add it to 1. I can adjust it however I want. Distance, softness, etc., etc. And of course, direction. And I'll make it a little bit softer. And that just gives it a little bit more depth. And all I have to do now is copy this drop shadow. So click on the name Drop Shadow in the Effect Controls panel and copy. Control or Command C. Select the other two layers, Precomp 2 and Precomp 3. Click on one, press and hold Shift, click on the other one, and now paste, which is Control or Command V. And now all of them should have drop shadows. I can even take all of these and press the letter P for position. Let's go ahead and lower them to the ground a little bit. And there you go. And let's perform a RAM preview of this. And let's preview that little bit. Not too bad, but you can see where the smoke kind of cuts off before it reaches the top of this image on the shorter chimney. That's due to the original comp size. You can double-click on the pre-comp to open it up. Select the layer with the particles and make it taller. Once you adjust that, you can come back to this final version and the smoke should go all the way to the top. If it's still cut off, make sure you have the collapse transformation switch turned on.